Okay, so if everyone is here, okay, so this is chapter 6, flow of food. Kung naalala nyo, review ko kayo. Flow of food starts with receiving.
Chef, may tanong ako, Chef.
Yes.
Yung nasend ng CIC school na parang, ano nga yun? Yung notes, parang notes. Ito ba yung kan mo? Yung slides mo?
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint mo, yes, Chef.
Kahapon, nandito ka ba kahapon?
Yes, Chef.
Di ba tinanong ko kayo kung ito o yung isa? Sabi nyo ito?
Okay, Chef. Kasi late akong nakapasok kahapon, Chef.
Dalawa kasi yung pinakita kong PowerPoint. Ito at saka yung isa. Sabi nyo ito. Kaya ito yung ginamit ko.
Okay, Chef.
Okay na? Sige.
Okay.
Ngayon, gusto ko lang ibalik nung kahapon, yung flow of food natin. Ang sabi ko sa inyo kahapon, sa bawat flow, dapat nasisigurado natin na from the first to the second to the third, and so forth and so on, walang nangyayaring, number 1, cross-contamination. Diniscuss ko na sa inyo kung paano nangyayari ang cross-contamination. At number 2, walang time temperature abuse. Sinabi ko na sa inyo kahapon kung ano yung time temperature abuse. Yun yung kapag ang pagkain tumagal sa temperature danger zone, which is 41 to 135 Fahrenheit, with beyond 4 hours. So kung gusto nating masigurado na walang tutubong microorganism at ma-rule out natin ang food poisoning sa buong flow, dapat absent yung dalawang yon. So i-review natin ang flow of food. Nagsisimula sa receiving, ito yung mga delivery, tapos pagka-received, storage, pagkatapos ng storage class, preparation, storage, tapos preparation, tapos cooking, tapos holding, tapos cooling, tapos serving. Heating, tapos serving. Okay, so kahapon natapos na natin ang receiving at saka storing, or receiving and storage. So nandito na tayo sa preparation. So what are the objectives of this chapter? Number 1, we would like to prevent again. Kung makikita nyo tong number 1 objective na to sa bawat stage dun sa buong flow natin, preventing cross-contamination and time temperature abuse. Parati yan, dalawang yan. Number 2, thawing food properly. Ano yung tamang paraan ng pagde-defrost ng frozen na pagkain. Number 3, cook food to a minimum internal temperature. Paano natin masisigurado na luto ang pagkain pero hindi overcook? Ibig sabihin ng luto, sigurado tayong patay na lahat ng microorganisms. At pang-apat, ano yung mga tamang paraan ng pagpapalamig ng mainit na pagkain bago natin itago sa fridge? Tapos kinabukasan, pag kailangan nyo nang gamitin, ano yung tamang paraan ng pag-reheat ng pagkain sa tamang temperature? So marami tayong i-review today. Yung mga natutunan nating temperature kahapon, idadagdag natin yung mga matututunan nating temperature today as a review of the exam that you're going to have tomorrow. Okay. Now, to prevent time temperature abuse, alam nyo na, paulit-ulit kung ano yung kahulugan nun. Sa pagpe-prepare ng food, make sure na hindi mo ilalabas sa fridge yung buong bulk ng alimbawa class, yung picture na nakikita nyo, palaman yan. Apparently, itong restaurant na to ay isa sa items nila ay itong sandwiches. So they're serving sandwiches. So kung makikita nyo dito sa picture, this looks like egg sandwich. So marami siyang ginawang palaman na egg sandwich. Tapos, gagawa siya ng mga 10 sandwich. So ang ginawa niya, nilabas niya lahat ng palaman, nilagay niya sa ibabaw, pasok sa temperature danger zone yan, para lang siya gumawa ng 4 na tinapay. So syempre tumatakbo na yung relo niyan. So ang tamang paraan niyan is either mabilis mo siya gagawin para in just a couple of minutes maibabalik mo yung palaman na hindi mo nagamit sa loob ng fridge, or kunin mo lang yung kailangan mo. So you can get a bowl, transfer enough filling, good for 4 sandwiches. Tayo naman pag nasa restaurant tayo, may costing tayo kaya measured natin kung gaano karami yung palaman na ilalagay mo sa sandwich mo. Like if let's say you're putting in half a cup. So to make 4 sandwiches, kailangan mo ng 2 cups. So yun lang ang ilalabas mo. Para hindi nako-compromise, lalo na may itlog yan. So you're not compromising the entire of the batch to food time temperature abuse. Kasi tatakbo na yung relo niyan. And make sure na yung kagaya niyan, pinatong mo sa puting chopping board yung sandwiches mo. These are ready to eat. So just make sure na yung cutting board mo ay malinis o yung work area mo malinis, pati yung pampahid mo. Now, ang nakikita ko pang isang mali sa picture na to, wala siyang gloves. At ang hinahandle niya ay ready to eat food. So as I stressed out yesterday, pag ready to eat food ang ihahandle mo, bread is ready to eat. The egg sandwich is already ready to eat. Hindi mo nalulutuin, hindi mo na iinitin. So dapat pag ganyan, either nakatongs ka or gloves. So dalawa yung mali dun sa mama. Nang una, nilabas niya yung buong batch. Pangalawa, wala siyang gloves. Okay. In terms of food additives o food color, when you say additive, pwedeng preservative o pwedeng food color. Sa Pilipinas, wala tayong masyadong batas, lalo na kapag sa palengke, pagka sila ay naglalagay ng food color sa tocino o sa longganisa, wala naman tayong batas na nagsasabing kailangan hihingi ka muna ng permit o ng license para makapaglagay ng food color o preservative sa pagkain na tinitinda mo. But dito sa Amerika, kapag gagamit ka ng anumang artificial, food color is of course artificial, pati preservative, number 1, it should never exceed the % of additives that is allowed by law. Although sa Philippines, kapag gagamitin mo sa litre o saltpeter because it's cancerous, you're only allowed 1% per kilo, which I don't know if someone is monitoring. Number 3, we never use additives to alter the appearance of food. Pero maraming gumagawa nito, gaya ng sinabi ko, yung sa palengke, yung gumagawa ng longganisa at tocino. Ang nilolongganisa nila at tinotocino nila, yung baboy na hindi nabenta ngayon. Kasi kung hindi nabenta ngayon at hindi amoy, amoy na parang malapit na siyang masira, pwede lang nila i-freeze yun, tapos ibenta uli bukas, ihahalo. Kaya hindi ako bumibili sa palengke yung giniling na. Kasi yung mga ibang tindera, yung baboy kahapon, ang gagawin nila, gigiling nila, ibebenta nilang giniling para hindi halata. Kaya ako, kukuha kong baboy, papagiling ko. Gusto ko nakikita ko sa harap ko, ginigiling. Yung iba, pag medyo hapon na at may amoy na yung baboy, gagawin nilang tocino at saka longganisa, nilalagay ng red food color para hindi mapansin na nagbabago na yung kulay ng baboy. And hindi rin pwede, you cannot also sell produce that's treated with sulfites. Nilalagyan minsan nila yung mga gulay ng sulfites para maging dark green, para yung mga dahon magiging parang malutong. It will look like it's freshly picked. And we never add sulfites to produce that will be eaten raw. Lalo na yung mga lettuce, yung mga tomatoes, yung mga cucumber. Hindi pwede yon because this is something that's cancerous. Okay. Food must be presented honestly. Hindi tayo pwedeng mag-misrepresent ng appearance ng food. Again, ginagawa natin to sa mga palengke. Kung mapapansin nyo, nilalagyan nila ng colored na ilaw yung on top of the fish or on top of the chicken. Pag fish, ang nilalagay nilang papel de hapon, malalagay nila doon, cellophane. Tinatapan nila ng cellophane yung ilaw kapag ka isda, color blue. Kapag ka naman manok, color yellow. Kapag ka baboy o baka, color red. Para very bright yung kulay nung binebenta nila, mukha siyang fresh. So again, that's not allowed. Food which you feel is no longer safe for consumption must be discarded or must be thrown away. Okay, when are we allowed to throw out food? Food can be thrown out in the following situations. Number one, kapag ang nagluto o yung humawak na staff ay hindi pa cleared from a previous foodborne illness. Number two, kapag na hawakan siya ng kamay na hindi naman hand washed properly, or may tumulo na any fluid from the body gaya ng pawis. Hindi pwede yun. Or when food has gone beyond the time, which is 4 hours, and it entered the temperature danger zone. These are the situations where you are allowed to throw away food. Okay, ito mahalaga to, class. Ito lang yung acceptable na ways na alam ko hindi natin ginagawa. Kasi ang very common na ginagawa natin, pag magsusuot tayo ng food, pinapatong lang natin sa ibabaw hanggang lumambot or nilulubog natin sa tubig. Now, in the food service, we really do not practice this. Sa bahay siguro nakakalusot tayo kasi niluluto natin half kilo, 1 kilo. Okay lang yun, parang hindi siya tinutubuan agad ng microorganisms kasi maliit lang. Pero kung gaya na sinabi ko kagabi, 30 pounds, 20 pounds, 10 pounds, volume na to, we cannot compromise, no? So yung pagkain na gaya ng sinabi ko kahapon, yung alam naming lulutuin namin within the next 2 days, from the freezer, nililipat na namin sa fridge. Safe doon kasi ang temperature naman sa fridge, 41 degrees and below. Halimbawa, bukas magluluto ka ng sinigang. Yung baboy na gagamitin mo for sinigang, pwede mo nang ibaba from the freezer to the fridge para siya matunaw. Na ang temperature niya ay 41 degrees. Number 2, pwede mo siyang ilagay sa tubig, sa container na may tubig, pero dapat running water, which is of course very hard to practice in the Philippines kasi mahal ang tubig. Pero dapat yan running water. Kahit mahina lang yung tubig, basta nasisigurado natin na napapalitan. Number 3, pwedeng i-microwave. Halimbawa, may giniling ka, gusto mong matunaw agad, pwede mo i-microwave ng mabilis, provided lulutuin mo rin. Hindi pwedeng ma-microwave mo tapos ibabalik mo sa fridge. Magkakaroon na tayo ng cross-contamination. Or, traditionally, ito ginagawa ko, magsisigang akong baboy. So, alam ko na pag namalengke ako, itong isang supot na to, pang sigang, itong isang supot na to, pang laga. So, ina-assign ko na, halimbawa, itong cubes na to, pang sigang. So, pwedeng magpapakulo na ako ng tubig sa kaldero. Pag kumukulo na, kukunin ko yung baboy ko from the freezer, tatanggalin ko sa lalagyan, idediretso ko na sa kumukulong tubig. That is the fourth part of the cooking process. These are the only 4 methods that's acceptable at recommended ni Servsafe. So, beyond this, hindi na pwede. Or outside the 4, hindi na pwede. Okay. Now, gaya ng sinabi ko, kapag nahiwa na ang prutas at gulay and they're left outside, exposed at the temperature danger zone, nasisira sila. Kaya kapag naghiwa ka ng fruits at hindi naubos lahat, you can keep them in the fridge. Or nakapaghiwa ka na ng gulay, lalong-lalo na class ang kamatis at sibuyas, you have to keep them in the fridge because you cannot leave them outside. Masisira sila agad. Madali silang masira. Okay? Make sure na yung mga gulay na yan are cut on a chopping board that's separate from the chopping board that you use to cut your meats to prevent cross-contamination. And you make sure that you wash them well before peeling and before cutting under running water. Okay, ito hindi na natin to ginagawa. Although dati sa Philippines, nauso yung naglalagay tayo ng ozone sa tubig na pinaghuhugasan natin ng gulay. Pero kasi naging very expensive yung chemical na yon na nilalagay natin sa water. Kung minsan, binababad natin yung gulay sa tubig, pero ang danger naman natin doon, some of the vitamins and the minerals might leach into the water. So the better way, kagaya ng ginagawa ng mama sa picture, kapag ka mga leaves ang hihiwain mo, ang lulutuin mo, kalas-kalasin mo siya and then you wash the leaves and then you drain them. Okay, ito sinabi ko na kanina, yung mga vegetables and fruits na nahiwa mo na and granted they're extra, you have to keep them in the fridge. And like what I said yesterday, yung alfalfa sprouts, yung maninipis na toge, which is used as a garnish for fish, should never be served to the high-risk population because we don't cook them. And they grow very close to the soil. Okay, pooling eggs. Ano ba yung pooling eggs? Pooling means sa isang bowl mo lang, hahaluin. Let's say, ang buffet mo, scrambled eggs. And you have to cook 100 eggs. So, ang tendency mo, hindi isa-isa kasi that would be very, it will entail too much work. So, ang gagawin mo, babasagin mo yung 100 itlog sa isang bowl. That's what you call pooling. Ngayon, pwede kang mag-pool kung ang gagamitin mong itlog ay yung nasa Tetra Pak. Kasi sigurado tayong pasteurized. Okay, pero kung ganyan na galing siya sa shell, basagin mo muna siya sa platito at saka mo siya igulong dyan. Ang danger kasi pag diniretso mo dyan, you're not even sure if all the eggs, unopened eggs are good. Halimbawa, nakabasag ka na ng 99, they're all good. Tapos biglang ika-100, bugok. So you have to get rid of all the eggs. So, money at saka time ang nawala sa'yo. So, never pull eggs, lalo na kung fresh. Okay? So, for high risk, we normally recommend pasteurized eggs o yung eggs na nasa Tetra Pak, lalo na kung gusto nila over easy. Ibig sabihin na over easy yung hindi masyadong luto. We can serve it to them, yung runny, we can serve it to them provided siya ay pasteurized. Pero kapag diretso from the shell, ang isa-serve mo sa kanila, kailangan siya cooked well. Luto talaga. Okay. Kung gagamit ka ng leftover ingredients like chicken to make salad, just make sure that you only keep it in the fridge for 7 days. At the temperature of 41 degrees. After 7 days, we should discard them. Kasi ang ginamit mo leftover na TCS ingredients. Okay. Now, makakakita kayo nitong ice machine if you work for a big food establishment. And we use this for our drinks or for whatever function you need in the kitchen. So, parati kang may makikitang holder ng scoop outside the machine. This is the only tool you are going to use to scoop out ice. You never use a glass, you never use a pitcher. At hindi ka rin pwede magtago dyan ng mga karne because this is the intention of the ice that you have in the ice machine is for drinking liquids like juice or water. Okay? So always make sure na malinis yung bin na yan na nilalagyan mo ng scooper. Okay, variance. What is a variance? In simple layman's term, variance means permit to operate. Now, in the Philippines, Anyone can just make tocino, longganisa. Sa palengke, may nagtitinda ng peanut butter, may nagtitinda ng bagoong, may nagtitinda pa ng lutong ulam without being required to get a mayor's permit or a business permit kasi small scale lang sila. Pero sa ibang bansa like sa Amerika, for very simple procedures, pag ibebenta mo sa public, you have to get a variance. Variance means permit. Number 1, kung gagawa ka ng fresh juice from oranges, ipapack mo siya, tapos hindi mo ibebenta agad. It's not sold on the day that you extract the juice from the oranges, then you have to get a permit. Number 2, if you have a smoking chamber to smoke ham or meats, you need a variance. Number 3, sinabi ko na kanina, kung gagamit ka ng preservatives o additives o food color, you need to get a variance. Number 4, if you are curing food, like corned beef, you're curing food and you're selling it, you need a variance. Number 5, kung magva-vacuum pack ka ng food, vacuum packing is removing oxygen, and then your intention is to sell it, you need a variance. Number 6, kung ikaw ay gagawa ng toge, magbi-bean sprout ka, you need to get a variance. Kasi ito yung mga diretso sa lupa, bubunutin mo, tapos kakainin na. Number 7, kung ikaw ay may aquarium, tapos meron kang fresh and live fish, na kung saan huhulihin mo yan, tapos iluluto on the spot, like in Chinese restaurants, you need a permit. And ito ang pinaka-funny sa lahat. Nang huli ka ng deer, nang huli ka ng animal sa woods, iuwi mo sa bahay, kakatayin mo, para kainin ninyong pamilya. You're not selling it. Sa inyo lang. Pero hindi mo siya pwedeng iuwi at hindi mo siya pwedeng katayin hanggat wala kang permit. Kahit na hindi mo siya ibebenta, kahit na ang kakain lang ay family. Okay, now this we started yesterday. This is cooking food. Okay, to make sure that food, there are two reasons why we need to use a thermometer. Unang-una, gagamit tayo ng thermometer para malaman mo kung luto na yung pagkain, na wala ng microorganisms. Number 2, kailangan natin yan para hindi natin ma-overcook ang pagkain. Kasi pagka na-overcook ang pagkain, class, it becomes tough and very dry. Hindi na siya masarap. So that's the reason why we have to insert a food thermometer twice. First is at the center of the food you're cooking. Second is at the thickest part of the food. So yung gitna at yung pinakamakapal. At siguraduhin yung tumatama yung pagkain sa dimple. Makalubog ang dimple. Ilulubog mo siya dyan for a specified period of time. Kung ano yung whatever is the guide. Okay. So kung makikita nyo, itong number 1 picture, tama siya, although hindi niya, second reading niya yan, ang unang reading niya doon sa gitna, tapos nilubog niya doon sa makapal. Okay. Now, you will also need to get the temperature of burgers. Pero kasi class, hindi tatama sa dimple yan pag ganyan ang pagtusok mo dahil yung dimple mas mataas pa dun sa burger. So, sideways ang pagkuha mo niyan. I-slant mo. You have to slant the thermometer so that the dimple goes inside the food that you are going to test. So, 2 times mo kukunin yan. Okay. So, I want us to make, gusto kong gumawa ng class, ng table. At saka 135. Okay, minimum internal cooking temperature food. So, gumawa ako ng 3 columns.
Ganito ginagawa ko para mabilis kasi ang residente ko sa isang araw na pinapakain, 140, 100 luto na.
Oo.
May cycle, okay? Pero kapag ang papakain,
Okay, so 3 yung columns natin. Unang column natin, class, ay yung temperature. Tapos, gaano katagal natin i-insert ang
work,
thermometer
yun na yung exam nyo.
hanggang sa makuha natin yung
Pero hindi nyo
temperature na
kailangan
yun.
tapusin ngayon.
And
Hanggang
then,
alas 6.
sa anong mga pagkain natin ginagamit ito? Lalagay pa natin yung Celsius, ha? Okay. So there are four temperatures. So the first is 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius. Okay. So ano yung mga pagkain na kailangan mag-register ng 165 Fahrenheit or 74 Celsius? Okay. Pamilya ng manok. Poultry. Hindi lang manok yan, ha, kung kumakain ka ng so chicken, turkey, duck, ano pa? Quail, ano pa? Ano pa ba kinakain yung ibon? Goose. O ano pa yung kinakain nyo? Basta pamilya ng manok. It will need a temperature of, pag nilubog mo yung thermometer dun sa manok, kailangan umabot siya ng 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 Celsius sa loob ng 15 segundo. That is the only time na masasabi mo na luto na yung manok mo. 15 seconds siya nakalubog. Okay, next is 155 Fahrenheit or 68 Celsius. Ito naman yung mga giniling. At saka yung itlog for the buffet. $15 seconds din ito, class. So we have ground meats and fish. Yung poultry natin, ano to, ha? Whole or ground. Kahit yung mga giniling, ha? Okay, so ground meats and fish, dyan yan. Kailangan, pag nagluto ka ng burger, kailangan yung thermometer mag-register ng 155 sa loob ng 15 segundo. Halimbawa, 1 minuto mo nang hawak yung thermometer, hindi pa rin siya umaabot sa 155. Ibig sabihin nun, hilaw pa siya. Hilaw pa siya. Okay. Eggs or hot-held service. Ano ibig sabihin ng hot-held? Buffet. So, hindi ito itlog na isa-serve agad. Ito ay itlog na isa-serve sa buffet. Okay, next. 145 Fahrenheit or 63 Celsius for 15 seconds. Seafood at saka itlog for immediate service. $15 then. Okay, so we have whole meats, whole fish, and seafood. At saka eggs for immediate service. Itlog na kakainin agad. A la carte. Yun ibig sabihin niya. Pero meron din tayo class na tanggalin ko muna. Okay, mali to. Okay. Same temperature, 145 degrees Fahrenheit or 63 Celsius. Pero kailangan consistent yung temperature niya for 4 minutes. Para ito sa big cuts of meat. Kasi malaki siya eh. Kagaya ng mga roast. Yung bangang isang putol ay 5 pounds, 10. Ay malalaki talaga. Yung rib eye, gano'n. Kailangan 4 minutes nakalubog ang thermometer mo and it should register 145 degrees or 63 Celsius. Tapos yung pinakahuli natin, 135 Fahrenheit para sa mga vegetables, sa mga grains, pero institutional. Ibig sabihin ng institutional, maramihan. Volume. Class, ito at once. Paglubog mo, dapat makuha mo na kagad yung temperature. Hindi ka na maghihintay ng 4 minutes, 15 seconds, hindi na. Okay? So, ito yung institutional. Ibig sabihin ng institutional class, maramihan na. Volume. Rice. Pasta. Vegetables. Root crops. At saka fruits. Maramihan yan. Volume. Ibig sabihin no, marami sila. Okay. So, ito yung mga temperatures na dapat nyo matandaan for the test on Saturday. Mas madali nyo marireview to class kesa yung nandito. Kesa yung nandito yung table. Ito rin naman yun eh. Sinamarize ko lang. Okay, screenshot. Nakuha nyo na? Class?
Yes, Chef.
Okay. Okay. Kapag naman class nagma-microwave tayo, lalo na dito sa Amerika, yung microwave, ginagamit nila yan for for cooking. Tayo sa Pilipinas, pag sinabing microwave, pang-init lang yan ng mga ulam. May initin ka lang na ulam kahapon, microwave sila, nagluluto sila ng kanin sa microwave, nagluluto sila ng ulam sa microwave. Very functional ang microwave sa kanila. Okay, kapag ka ikaw ay magluluto ng ready-to-eat food sa microwave, make sure it reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit para mo malaman na luto na siya. Pero pre-cook na yan eh. Okay? Meat, for seafood, for poultry, and for eggs. Ngayon, may technique, kapag magma-microwave ka, make sure na covered. Unang-una, tatalsik yan sa buong microwave mo. Pangalawa, masyadong nagda-dry. Okay. Kung 2 minutes mo kailangang initin yung pagkain, iset mo muna yung microwave mo sa 1 minute. Pagkatapos nun, haluin mo. Tapos another minute. Tapos ng class, huwag mo ilalabas kaagad yung pagkain sa microwave. Let it stay for a while, at least 2 minutes, para pumantay yung temperature sa buong pagkain. Kasi iba, kukunin mo agad. Ang nangyayari dyan, yung taas mainit, yung baba malamig. So, wag mo munang kukunin, para mapantay ang temperature. Okay. Partial cooking. Mahilig nating gawin yung partial cooking. Kailan natin class ginagawa ang partial cooking? Kapag tayo ay nagpapalambot, mahilig tayo magpalambot. Halimbawa, magluluto ka ng kare-kare, bukas may handa ka. So normally, ang ingredients natin ng kare-kare ay buntot ng baka, pata ng baka, goto na matitigas. Matitigas yan. So ang gagawin mo the day before, palalambutin mo na. Yun ang tinatawag ng part cooking. Okay, kasi bukas ang gagawin mo na lang, lulutuin mo na lang yung sauce, tapos lalagyan mo ng gulay, tapos ilalagay mo yung karne na malambot na. Yun ang kadalasang minsan mali natin. Class, wag mong lulutuin yan ng todo. Yung halos ibabagsak mo na lang. Sa Servsafe, mali yun. Dapat yon hindi lalampas ng 1 oras, lalo na kung hindi ka gumagamit ng pressure cooker. Okay lang na hindi ganun kalambot yung karne mo, para bukas meron pa siyang time para lumambot. Kasi minsan tayo, ay masyado na malambot, ibagsak mo na lang yan. So hindi kumukulo ng husto yung pagkain, yung karne. So that will allow contamination. So wag mo siyang palambutin ng todo. Siguro 3/4 lang ng lambot. Pag-iwan ka ng 1/2 para maaalaw mo pa yung karne mo bukas na kumulo sa sauce. And you are sure na ito ay namatay na lahat ng microorganism. So kapag nag-heat tayo ng food, halimbawa, napalambot mo kahapon, i-fridge mo, tapos bukas, iluluto mo na siya kasama ng sauce at gulay, make sure na aabot siya sa 165 degrees Fahrenheit for 50 seconds. Class, mamaya gagawin ko ulit kayo ng table. We will put in all the temperatures para hindi kayo malito. After thawing. Okay. Ano yung consumer advisories? Ito yung kadalasang mga nilalagay natin sa menu, lalo na kung meron kang allergen. Kahapon pinag-usapan na natin yung mga allergens. I already enumerated to you kung ano yung mga pagkain na pwedeng mag-cause ng allergy. Yun ang isa sa nilalagay natin sa menu. Maglalagay ka ng asterisk, halimbawa, kare-kare. Kung foreigner yan, hindi niya alam kung ano yung kare-kare. So maglalagay ka ng asterisk dun sa kare-kare, tapos sa ilalim may footnote ka, this is a stew of peanut. Peanut is an allergen. So bakit lang alam nila? O kaya, nagluto ka ng curry, chicken curry. O lagay mo sa baba. Chicken curry uses milk. Halimbawa, kasi ako, ang ginagamit ko dyan, coconut cream. Yung iba, milk, which contains lactose. Para lang, for FYI, para alam ng kliyente mo. You have to post it. At ang isa pang nilalagay natin sa advisory natin, class, kapag kami undercooked, halimbawa, beef, halimbawa may beef ka, beef is served medium well. So, baka ayaw nila yon, gusto nila yung overcooked o well done. O kaya, halimbawa, ang ulam mo, kinilaw na isda. Okay? Fish, lagay mo asterisk, fish is raw. Fish is raw served with vinegar. So, may footnote ka lagi. Para walang sisihan. Walang sisihan. Okay. So, ang FDA class does not recommend serving raw or undercooked meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs to children. Pag children, kailangan laging well done. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, kahit dyan sa Pilipinas, yung breakfast ng Jollibee at saka McDonald's, yung sunny side up na itlog nila, hindi yung gusto natin na pwede isabaw sa kanin. Yung sunny side up na itlog nila, totoo yung pula. Because that is a requirement. Para kung bata ang kakain o matanda, hindi tayo makaka-compromise. Because we never allow serving of undercooked eggs for one, to children, to seniors, sa compromised age group. We also do not serve to them raw seed sprouts or alfalfa. Tapos yung talaba, yung oyster na pinadadaanan lang ng mainit na tubig, hindi sa kanila pwede yun. At saka hamburgers nila kailangan well done. Hindi pwede mapula-pula pa. Okay, ito yung pinakahuling temperature natin, cooling. Ano yung cooling? Nagluto ka. Nagpakulo ka. So, syempre, ang temperature ng pagkain mo lalampas ng 135. Okay? Pagkatapos ka magpakulo, kailangan mapalamig mo yon kasi hindi mo siya pwedeng itago sa fridge ng kumukulo o ng mainit kasi yung lahat ng laman ng fridge mo pwedeng masira. Hindi dahil masisira ang fridge mo. Pwera lang kung meron kang blast chiller. Okay. Ngayon, meron tayong tinatawag na temperature danger zone. Alam nyo kung ano yung temperature na yon. 135, 41 to 135. Pero dahil mainit yan, pabalik tayo, 135 to 41. Ibig sabihin, sa loob ng 4 na oras, kailangan umabot ng 41 degrees yung pinalalamig mo mula sa 135 pataas. Kailangan bumaba siya ng 41 sa 4 na oras para maitago mo na siya sa fridge. Okay. So, paano natin gagawin yon? May mga ways akong ituturo sa inyo. Pero dalawa lang ang pwede nating i-accept na cooling. Okay. Nabanggit ko sa inyo kahapon din na while it is true na yung 135 to 41 ang temperature danger zone, dun sa loob ng 135 to 41, merong critical na temperature that's 125 to 70. Yun talaga ang area o yung temperature na napakabilis mag-multiply ng microorganism. Kaya dapat maitawid mo siya doon ng 2 hours. So, kailangan mapalamig mo ang food from 135 to 70 sa 2 hours. Tapos from 70 to 41, kahit 4 hours yon. Basta 2 and 4, I'm sorry, 2 and 4 is 6. Or, mas maganda, kung mapapalamig mo siya from 135 to 70 sa loob ng 1 oras, tapos 70 to 41, 5 oras. So either 2 and 4 or 5 and 1. Gagawa tayo ng table later. Okay, so ito yung example yung kanina, no? So kailangan ma-cool mo ang food bago mo itago sa fridge from 135 to 70 sa 2 hours or less. At pagkatapos, from 70 to 41, the rest of the hours to make a total of 6. Hindi pwede yung 2 and 4, okay. 1 and 5, okay. Hindi pwede ang 3 and 3, 4 and 2, 5 and 1. Kailangan yung 135 to 70, mabilis lang yun. Kasi nandun yung 125 to 70, yun yung pinakamabilis na mag-multiply ang microorganism. Okay. There are several ways on how you can cool food. Kung makikita niyo sa picture, nililipat nung cook yung sauce ng spaghetti sa mas maliliit na lalagyan. Galing sa malaki. Mas mabilis siya lalamig kung maliliit ang lalagyan, tsaka mabababaw. Okay, that's one way. Number 2, pwede mo siya ilubog sa yelo. This is what we call an ice water bath. Sa lababo, lagyan mo yelo tsaka tubig, tapos ilubog mo siya. Or pwede kang gumamit ng ice paddle. Yung ice paddle class, para siyang plastic. Nalalagyan mo ng tubig, kasi lalagay mo sa freezer, mag-yelo. Pwede mo siyang haluin para mabilis. Or kung meron kang blast chiller, papasok mo lang siya sa blast chiller. Kahit na mainit pa. That's the easiest. Okay. Before we continue, i-review lang natin ang temperatures natin. Okay. May review kayo sa test. 41 degrees Fahrenheit to 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Saan ba yun? Gusto ko isa lang ang space. Okay. This is the first temperature. Okay. Cooling. Single na ako na. Okay. Ay nako, ayaw mo. Cooling temperature natin, 135 Fahrenheit to 70 Fahrenheit for 2 hours or below. Tapos 70 Fahrenheit to 41 Fahrenheit for the rest of the hours. Total of 6 hours. Teka, consumption. Ayoko nang may space. Okay. Okay, next. Reheating temperature. 165 Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. O, yung minimum internal cooking temperature, alam niyo na yun, ha? Okay. Food. Arrangement of food in the freezer. Okay? From top to bottom. Top to bottom tayo, ha? Top natin, ready to eat. Tapos, whole fish and seafood. Alam nyo, ang minimum internal cooking temperature nito, 145 Fahrenheit. Okay? Tapos ground meat. Hindi. Whole meat pala. Whole meat. Hindi niya, 145 Fahrenheit. Okay? Tapos ground meat and fish. 155. Okay, tapos poultry. 165 Fahrenheit. Arrangement of food in the freezer and minimum internal cooking temperature. Yan yung mga i-review nyo. Picturean nyo na to. Okay? Na-picturean na?
Done, Chef.
Okay. Let's continue. Okay, pag nag-reheat kayo, sinabi ko na kanina, 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 Celsius for 15 seconds. Okay, yan yung galing sa fridge na isa-serve mo na the following day. Okay, so before we go to service, we are going to have our video number 4. Number 4 na, no? Class.
You can do this job 2 ways. You can do it with an iron fist and have everyone dreading the minute you show up on their doorstep. Or you can be collaborative and work with your managers, your owner-operators to get better results. I gotta say, as a health inspector, I'm all about getting the best results possible, so I prefer the second method. I cover a lot of different operations all over the county. Hospitals, school cafeterias, big chains, mom and pop restaurants, fine dining, you name it. I even have an amusement park. Anyway, I have managed to build good working relationships with all those operations. In fact, over the last 6 years I've been on the job, I have not had a single closure or a foodborne illness outbreak on my watch. I'm proud of that, but I didn't do it alone. And I'm proud of that too. The bottom line is, we all have to work together to keep customers safe and serve safe food. Okay, time to go to work. It all starts with sanitary facilities and equipment. That's basic. That's fundamental. Without sanitary facilities and equipment, you're undermining all your other food safety practices. Besides that, keeping your establishment clean and sanitary will help prevent food from becoming contaminated. It also helps prevent another potential source of contamination from thriving in your establishment: pests. Accomplishing this and doing it right takes a lot of thought and planning. So here's what you need to know. You have to know exactly what's meant by the term sanitary equipment and facilities. Then you have to fully understand the process of cleaning and sanitizing. And you have to know about integrated pest management. A well-designed facility has been planned out so that both the building and all the equipment can be kept clean and in good repair. This makes it easier to keep food safe. Generally speaking, if a kitchen has been efficiently designed, you'll have a more sanitary facility. And a well-designed kitchen will also address lots of factors, including personal hygiene, workflow, contamination, and equipment accessibility. You should design your workflow plan with 2 key points in mind. First, you have to minimize the amount of time food spends in the temperature danger zone. Your storage areas, for example, should be located near the receiving areas to prevent time and temperature abuse caused by delays in storing food. And your prep tables should be located near refrigerators and freezers for the same reason. The second point that your workflow plan must take into account is minimizing the risk of cross-contamination. Never set up your prep areas in a way that would allow dirty equipment to touch clean equipment or food. A well-planned layout also ensures equipment is easily accessible for cleaning. That means that you make sure your equipment has been set up so it's easy to disassemble and clean around. Now, when you're talking about sanitary equipment at facilities, there's several considerations to keep in mind. Here's what they are. First, you start off with the plan review. Then you have to think about the materials for interior flooring. You'll have to know the guidelines for hand washing stations and sanitation standards for equipment surfaces. You've also got guidelines to follow on dishwashing machines and the installation and maintenance of kitchen equipment, plus water supply and plumbing considerations, lighting, ventilation, and last but not least, garbage disposal. A plan review is usually required anytime you have new construction or extensive remodeling. The next thing you need to know regarding your facility is which materials are appropriate for use inside your operation. Your most important consideration here is how easy the establishment will be to clean and maintain. It's especially important to choose the right kind of flooring materials. The flooring should be made of a smooth, non-absorbent material that is durable and easy to clean. And this flooring should be used in food prep and storage areas, dishwashing areas, walk-in coolers, dressing and locker rooms, and restrooms. Your plan should include coving. Coving is a curved sealed edge placed between the floor and the wall to eliminate sharp corners or gaps that would be impossible to clean. The materials for your facility's walls, ceilings, and doors must be smooth, non-absorbent, durable, and easy to clean. You should choose light colors for walls and ceilings, and make sure walls can withstand repeated washing. Hand washing plays a very important role in food safety. That's why your plans should include lots of hand washing stations that are conveniently located, so employees will be encouraged to wash their hands often. Hand washing stations are required in restrooms and need to be located in food preparation, service, and dishwashing areas. Here's what a properly equipped hand washing station needs to have: hot and cold running water, and the temperature of the water must be at least 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 Celsius. Soap. Liquid soap is generally preferred because it's easy to use and refill. There should also be something to dry hands. Most local codes require establishments to supply disposable paper towels in hand washing stations. You may want to consider installing a warm air dryer to provide an alternate method for drying hands if paper towels run out. But common cloth towels are not permitted because they can transmit contaminants from one person's hands to another. Hand washing stations should also have a waste container if disposable paper towels are provided. You should also post signs that say that employees are required to wash hands before returning to work. When you're buying equipment for your place, make sure it's been designed with sanitation in mind. All equipment with food contact surfaces must be safe, durable, corrosion resistant, non-absorbent, sufficient in weight and thickness to withstand repeated cleaning, and smooth and easy to clean. They also have to be resistant to pitting, chipping, decomposition, scratching, scoring, distortion, and crazing. You know, those fine spider cracks. And any equipment that's exposed to splashing, spillage, or other food soiling needs to be constructed of smooth, non-absorbent, corrosion-resistant material. And the same goes for any surface that would require frequent cleaning. The surface of the equipment should be free of unnecessary ledges, projections, and crevices. It should also be designed and constructed to allow easy cleaning and maintenance. Organizations like NSF International and Underwriters Laboratories have helped simplify the task of choosing equipment designed for sanitation. All you have to do is look for the NSF International mark or the UL Environmental and Public Health Product mark on food service equipment. When you see either of those symbols, it means that the equipment has met sanitary standards and is acceptable for food service use. Now, when you're selecting and installing dishwashing machines, you should follow these guidelines. The machine must be raised at least 6 inches or 15 centimeters off the floor so you can clean underneath them easily. Key information about using the machine should be posted on the dishwasher. This information includes proper water temperature, conveyor speed, and water pressure. Your kitchen equipment should be installed so that both the equipment and the areas surrounding it are easy to clean. Everything should also be serviced regularly to keep it in good working order. Your stationary equipment has to be mounted on legs at least 6 inches or 15 centimeters off the floor. Or you could also seal it to a masonry base. Stationary tabletop equipment should be mounted on legs that provide a minimum clearance of 4 inches or 10 centimeters between the base of the equipment and the tabletop. Otherwise, the equipment should be sealed to the tabletop, and any gaps between equipment and surrounding countertops and walls must also be sealed. You also have to make sure you're using safe water for cooking, cleaning, and hand washing. Water that's safe to drink is called potable water. The sources of potable water include approved public water mains and private water sources, such as a well, that are regularly maintained and tested. Other sources include closed portable water containers and water transport vehicles. If your operation uses a well, you should check with your local regulatory authority for information on inspections, testing, and other requirements. Generally, wells must be tested at least once a year, and the test reports kept on file. Now, the greatest challenge to water safety is a matter of plumbing, particularly cross connections and backflow. A cross connection is a physical link through which contaminants from drains, sewers, or other wastewater sources can enter the water supply. A running faucet located below the flood rim of a sink or a running hose in a mop bucket are examples of cross connections. A cross connection is dangerous because it allows the possibility of backflow, which is the unwanted reverse flow of contaminants into a potable water system. Backflow can occur whenever the pressure in the potable water supply drops below the pressure of the contaminated supply. There are several methods to prevent backflow. For example, you can install vacuum breakers on faucets. But the only completely reliable method for preventing backflow is to create an air gap. This is an airspace that separates a water supply outlet from any potentially contaminated source. A properly designed and installed sink typically has 2 air gaps to prevent backflow. One is the airspace between the faucet and the flood rim of the sink. The other is located between the drain pipe of the sink and the floor drain of the establishment. Now, grease traps are often installed to prevent a grease buildup from creating a drain blockage. These traps should be regularly maintained to allow for proper functioning. Because the plumbing on grease traps can also pose a contamination risk, make sure that only licensed plumbers install and maintain those pipes. Another possible plumbing problem, and a dangerous one, can be caused by sewage. Sewage and wastewater are contaminated with pathogens, soils, and chemicals, and it's absolutely essential to prevent them from contaminating food or food contact surfaces. If raw sewage backs up in your operation, close the affected area right away. Then fix the problem and thoroughly clean the area. Sewage is obviously a source of contamination, but a lot of people are surprised to learn that lighting fixtures also pose contamination risks. That's because shattered light bulbs can contaminate food and food contact surfaces. To prevent that kind of contamination, you should use shatter-resistant light bulbs, or put protective covers made of metal mesh or plastic over your fixtures. Here's something you may not know. There are requirements that specify the minimum level of light necessary in each area of your operation. Lighting requirements are usually measured in units called foot candles, or lux. Prep areas require the most light. Here, lighting must be at least 50 foot candles, 540 lux. you'll need at least 20 foot candles, 215 lux of light in hand washing and dishwashing areas, buffets, salad bars, and displays for produce or packaged food, in wait stations and utensil storage areas, in restrooms, and inside some equipment, such as reach-in coolers. Finally, you'll need at least 10 foot candles, 108 lux of light inside walk-in coolers and freezers, dry storage areas, and dining rooms. You also have to look at some of the other equipment in your kitchen, like your ventilation. Your ventilation hoods, fans, guards, and ductwork shouldn't ever drip onto food or equipment. Your hood filters or grease extractors have to be tight-fitting and easy to remove, and they should be cleaned on a regular basis. The last thing to look at for a sanitary facility is the procedures and equipment you've put into place to handle garbage. Garbage attracts pests and it can contaminate food, equipment, and utensils. You have to prevent odors, pests, and possible contamination. So you've got to remove garbage from food preparation areas as quickly as possible. Make sure that garbage containers are leak-proof, waterproof, and pest-proof, and line them with either plastic bags or wet-strength paper bags. All outdoor garbage containers should be placed on a smooth, non-absorbent surface. They should have tight-fitting lids and should be kept covered at all times. And make sure you keep the drain plugs in place. Another thing, garbage containers should be easy to clean, and they should be cleaned frequently. This has to be done and done thoroughly. And that means cleaning it both inside and out. This should never be done near areas used for food preparation or storage. Okay, that covers sanitary equipment and facilities. Now I want to talk about cleaning and sanitizing. I want to stop here at Whistling River Amusement Park because in my book, their food safety practices are second to none. Alan Schumer is a guy who knows a lot about good cleaning and sanitizing practices. To get a handle on cleaning and sanitizing, you have to know the difference between cleaning and sanitizing, the properties and uses of cleaning agents, the different methods of sanitizing, and the different types of dishwashing machines and their proper operation. You'll also have to know how to clean and sanitize equipment using a 3-compartment sink. Then there's the proper storage of utensils, tableware, and equipment, the proper storage of cleaning tools and supplies, and the proper use and storage of hazardous materials. Cleaning is the process of removing food and other types of soil from a surface, such as a prep table or plate, while sanitizing is the process of reducing the number of pathogens on a clean surface to safe levels. Effective cleaning and sanitizing is a 2-step process. Surfaces have got to first be cleaned and rinsed before being sanitized.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Everything in the operation has got to be kept clean. But any surface that comes in contact with food, such as knives, utensils, and cutting boards, has to be cleaned and sanitized.
So all food contact surfaces must be washed, then rinsed, and then sanitized. And you have to do it after each use. Anytime you begin working with another type of food, anytime you're interrupted during a task and the tools or items you've been working with may have been contaminated, and at 4-hour intervals if items are constantly used. These aren't options or something that should be done most of the time. These are practices that should be followed all of the time.
Cleaning agents are chemical compounds that remove food, soil, rust, stains, minerals, and other deposits.
Since cleaning agents all have different properties, you should ask your supplier to help you select the ones that will meet your needs. There are different types of cleaners, and they've got specific uses.
There are general purpose detergents, which remove fresh dirt from floors, walls, ceilings, prep surfaces, and most equipment and utensils. Heavy-duty detergents, on the other hand, remove wax, aged or dried dirt, and baked-on grease. Dishwasher detergents are an example. Then there are solvent cleaners, which are often called degreasers, and these are alkaline detergents containing a grease-dissolving agent. They work well in areas where grease is burned on and are usually only effective at full strength. Acid cleaners, which are also called delimers, are used on mineral deposits and other soils that alkaline cleaners can't remove. Acid cleaners vary in type and strength and are often used to remove scale in dishwashing machines and steam tables. Abrasive cleaners contain a scouring agent that helps scrub out hard-to-remove soil. If you've got pots and pans with baked-on food, this is what's often used to remove it. Remember to use abrasive cleaners carefully because they can scratch surfaces.
There's two methods used to sanitize surfaces: heat sanitizing and chemical sanitizing. One way to heat sanitize tableware, utensils, or equipment is to immerse them in hot water. To be effective, the water must be at least 171 degrees Fahrenheit, 77 Celsius, and the items have to be immersed for 30 seconds.
When you're heat sanitizing by immersion, you should use a thermometer to check water temperature. It might also be necessary to install a heating device to maintain this temperature.
The other heat sanitizing method is the high-temperature dishwashing machine. This uses hot water to sanitize tableware, utensils, and other items. To check the water temperature in these machines, attach temperature-sensitive labels or tape, or a high-temperature probe to items that will be run through the machine. Now, the other way to sanitize uses chemicals. The three most common types of chemical sanitizers are chlorine, iodine, and quaternary ammonium compounds, or quats. The chemical sanitizers are regulated by state and federal environmental protection agencies, and a list of approved sanitizers is available from the federal government. Work with your chemical supplier to choose the right sanitizers for your place. Detergent sanitizer blends can sometimes be used to sanitize items. If you use a detergent sanitizer blend, use it once to clean and a second time to sanitize.
Tableware, utensils, and equipment can be chemically sanitized by immersing them in a specific concentration of sanitizing solution for a specific amount of time. You can also rinse, swab, or spray them with the appropriate sanitizing solution. Chemical sanitizers are mixed with water until the right concentration, the proper ratio of sanitizer to water, is reached. The right concentration is critical because concentration below those required in your jurisdiction or recommended by the manufacturer could fail to sanitize objects. On the other hand, if the concentration is higher than recommended, they can be unsafe. When that happens, they can leave an odor or bad taste and can even corrode metals. You should always measure the concentration using a sanitizer test kit, which registers the strength of the concentration in parts per million, or ppm. But make sure the test kit is designed for the sanitizer you're using. If you don't have the right test kit, they're usually available from the manufacturer or your chemical supplier. One last thing about the concentration of a sanitizing solution. You have to check it frequently, since the sanitizer loses its strength during use. Temperature is another factor that can influence the effectiveness of chemical sanitizers. So make sure you follow the manufacturer's recommendations for the proper temperature. Contact time is also important. For a sanitizing solution to kill pathogens, it has to make contact with the object for a specific amount of time. Manufacturer's recommendations should provide you with all the information you need. The pH and hardness of your water can also affect how well a sanitizer works. You can get this information from your municipality. Then you should work with your supplier to identify the right amount of sanitizer to use for your water.
Okay, now let's talk about the different types of dishwashing machines and how they work. High temperature machines rely on hot water to clean and sanitize, so the water temperature is critical. If it's not hot enough, items won't be properly sanitized. If it's too hot, it could vaporize before tableware and utensils have been sanitized. And there's also the possibility that extremely hot water could bake food onto an item. The dishwasher must be equipped with a built-in thermometer that measures water temperature at the manifold, the point where the water sprays into the tank. The temperature of the final sanitizing rinse must be at least 180 degrees Fahrenheit, 82 Celsius, to be effective. For stationary rack single temperature machines, the sanitizing rinse must be at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit, 74 Celsius. Operations that clean and sanitize a lot of tableware may need to install a heating device. This device will make sure the machines have enough hot water. The second type of dishwashing machines are chemical sanitizing machines. These can clean and sanitize items at much lower temperatures. Since different sanitizers require different rinse water temperatures, it's important to follow the dishwashing temperature guidelines provided by the manufacturer. All dishwashing machines should be operated according to the recommendations provided by the manufacturer. But no matter what type of machine you use, there are general procedures you should follow when cleaning and sanitizing tableware, utensils, and related items. That means you have to check the machine for cleanliness at least once a day and clean it whenever it's needed. You need to clear detergent trays and spray nozzles of food and foreign objects. And you should remove mineral deposits caused by hard water using an acid cleaner on the machine whenever it's necessary. Make sure the detergent and sanitizer dispensers are properly filled. Before you send the soiled items through, you need to scrape, rinse, or soak items before washing, and pre-soak items with dried-on food. The dish racks you also need to check water temperatures and pressure following the manufacturer's recommendations. As each rack comes out of the machine, check it for soiled items. Once all the items are cleaned and sanitized, you have to let everything air dry. Now, don't use towels because they can recontaminate items you just cleaned. Finally, keep the dishwashing machine in good repair using the basic maintenance measures I talked about and any service agreement that you have with the manufacturer.
You can also wash items using a 3-compartment sink. A properly set up station for a 3-compartment sink includes an area for rinsing away food or for scraping food into garbage containers, drain boards to hold both soiled and cleaned items, a thermometer to measure water temperature, chemical test strips to check sanitizer concentration, and a clock with a second hand that allows employees to time how long items have been immersed in the sanitizing sink. Before cleaning and sanitizing items in a 3-compartment sink, each sink and all work surfaces have to be cleaned and sanitized. There's 5 steps for cleaning and sanitizing tableware, utensils, and equipment in a 3-compartment sink. Step 1, rinse, scrape, or soak all items before washing. Step 2, wash items in the first sink in a detergent solution that's at least 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 Celsius. You should use a brush, cloth, or nylon scrub pad to loosen the remaining soil. And make sure you replace the detergent solution when the suds are gone or the water is dirty. Step 3, immerse or spray rinse items in the second sink. You have to remove all traces of food and detergent. And if you're using the immersion method, replace the rinse water when it becomes cloudy or dirty. Step 4, sanitize the rinsed items in the third sink by immersing them in a chemical sanitizing solution. Alternately, you can immerse them in hot water that's at least 171 degrees Fahrenheit, 77 Celsius, for 30 seconds. Step 5, air dry all items. Don't use a towel. Once utensils, tableware, and equipment are clean, sanitized, and dry, store them so they stay that way. That means storing tableware and utensils at least 6 inches, 15 centimeters, off the floor, keeping everything covered or otherwise protected from dirt and condensation, and cleaning drawers and shelves before clean items are stored. You also have to clean trays and carts used to carry clean tableware and utensils. Make sure that this is done on a daily basis or more often if necessary. When it comes to cleaning the operation, there are several things to keep in mind. Non-food contact surfaces, such as floors, ceilings, equipment exteriors, restrooms, and walls, must be cleaned regularly. This will keep dust and dirt, food residue, and other debris from building up. To do these jobs, Your staff will need the right tools, but if you're not careful, the tools themselves can contaminate surfaces. You can avoid this by replacing any cleaning tools that are worn and by cleaning the tools before putting them away. Assigning tools for specific tasks will also help. For example, you can use one set of tools for cleaning food contact surfaces and another for non-food contact surfaces. And here's a hint. Using color-coded tools can help keep them separate. You have to be just as careful when it comes to cleaning towels. Never use towels meant for food spills for any other purpose, and store them in a sanitizer solution between uses. Always keep towels that come in contact with raw meat, fish, or poultry separate from other cleaning towels. All your cleaning tools and chemicals have to be placed in a storage area away from food and food preparation sites to avoid contamination. That storage area should have things like hooks for hanging cleaning tools to dry, a floor drain for dumping dirty water, and a utility sink for filling buckets and washing cleaning tools. Oh, and by the way, never clean tools anywhere but in that utility sink. Some of the cleaning solutions you'll use have to be considered hazardous materials, and by definition, hazardous materials always pose some risk of chemical contamination. You should reduce your risk by working with your chemical suppliers and purchase only those chemicals that are approved.
Natapos na ata.
Bake food onto an item. The dishwasher must, if for rinsing away food or for scraping food into garbage containers, drain boards to hold both soiled and cleaned items, a thermometer to measure water temperature, chemical test strips to check sanitizer concentration, and a clock with a second hand that allows employees to time how long items have been immersed in the sanitizing sink. Before cleaning and sanitizing items in a 3-compartment sink, each sink and all work surfaces have to be cleaned and sanitized. There's 5 steps for cleaning and sanitizing tableware, utensils, and equipment in a 3-compartment sink. Step 1, rinse, scrape, or soak all items before washing. Step 2, wash items in the first sink in a detergent solution that's at least 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 Celsius. You should use a brush, cloth, or nylon scrub pad to loosen the remaining soil. And make sure you replace the detergent solution when the suds are gone or the water is dirty. Step 3, immerse or spray rinse items in the second sink. You have to remove all traces of food and detergent. And if you're using the immersion method, replace the rinse water when it becomes cloudy or dirty. Step 4, sanitize the rinsed items in the third sink by immersing them in a chemical sanitizing solution. Alternately, you can immerse them in hot water that's at least 171 degrees Fahrenheit, 77 Celsius, for 30 seconds. Step 5, air dry all items. Don't use a towel. Once utensils, tableware, and equipment are clean, sanitized, and dry, store them so they stay that way. That means storing tableware and utensils at least 6 inches, 15 centimeters, off the floor, keeping everything covered or otherwise protected from dirt and condensation, and cleaning drawers and shelves before clean items are stored. You also have to clean trays and carts used to carry clean tableware and utensils. Make sure that this is done on a daily basis or more often if necessary. When it comes to cleaning the operation, there are several things to keep in mind. Non-food contact surfaces, such as floors, ceilings, equipment exteriors, restrooms, and walls, must be cleaned regularly. This will keep dust and dirt, food residue, and other debris from building up. To do these jobs, your staff will need the right tools. But if you're not careful, the tools themselves can contaminate surfaces. You can avoid this by replacing any cleaning tools that are worn and by cleaning the tools before putting them away. Assigning tools for specific tasks will also help. For example, you can use one set of tools for cleaning food contact surfaces and another for non-food contact surfaces. And here's a hint. Using color-coded tools can help keep them separate. You have to be just as careful when it comes to cleaning towels. Never use towels meant for food spills for any other purpose, and store them in a sanitizer solution between uses. Always keep towels that come in contact with raw meat,
fish, or poultry separate from other cleaning towels. All your cleaning tools and chemicals have to be placed in a storage area away from food and food preparation sites to avoid contamination. That storage area should have things like hooks for hanging cleaning tools to dry, a floor drain for dumping dirty water, and a utility